Welcome to Warrior Commission Now, where we talk about practical ways to live out your commission. And this is a time when we get to come together and we just explore conversation, which is a lot of fun. So I am Christine Caston.
And I am Sharon Rudolph.
And Sharon and I are very excited to invite you to our table and be a part of our conversation so that as we talk and as we chat about what it is that God has put on our heart for the topic, then you can explore with us with what God wants to say and how he's speaking to your heart. And we hope that you walk away encouraged. Sharon and I have, we've been together for a while, and we really have had a lot of fun now doing these video chats, recording them, because they're really just, they're unscripted video chats where we have a couple of things that we think about, hey, let's see if we're going to share that with this topic. But for the most part, it's unscripted. So it's really about a conversation between friends and tapping into God's heart for what that is. And we hope that overflow that we have for you is present in you and encourages you each time you listen to one of our chats. So thank you for joining us. And we'd love to hear your comments, whether it's on our Facebook page, the Warrior Commission TWC, or it's on this Warrior Commission Now YouTube channel. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So today we're talking about exploration and stepping into something new.
Yes.
And as warriors in the Warrior Commission, one of the things that we've discovered is that we're a warrior epic nation. And what that is for us is actually a fivefold piece of identity. So it's warrior, explorer with the E, P is pioneer, I is influencer, and C is champion, which is a champion is someone who raises others up. So we're going to kind of explore exploration right now, and the idea from the perspective of when you step into something new. So Sharon, what is exploration to you?
Oh, exploration is one of those words that, for me anyway, if you think about it too much, it starts to look scary. But
see, it excites me when I think about it a lot. It's like, yes, I get to explore something.
But I love the concept of trying something I haven't tried before.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Which is part of the scary part. It's unknown.
Yes. Yeah. So I have learned to not be afraid of exploration, because now I know I'm doing exploration with God. Mm-hmm. It's not about me figuring something out. Mm-hmm. It's about me seeing what God has in it. Yeah. And when you do life with God, that's what everything gets to be. Mm-hmm. And then as we step into things and you're in them longer, it simply becomes your process. And sometimes we become pioneers, but that initial step of what is this? What do I do with it? How do I engage with it? And one of the things that you mentioned with how we in TWC do exploration is that it's passion, not perfection. You start something with passion and excitement and curiosity. It's not about something being perfect, because who gets to define that?
Yeah, that's a moving target anyway.
Right. So put your toe in the water, see what's there, or jump in both feet. Each person is unique in how they explore. Sure. Some people want to check out everything at one time. And some people start with a little piece, and you dig into the little piece before you go to the next piece. So I think exploration can be very individual. Mm-hmm. And yet I know in my knower that when you do it with God, it is so fun and exciting. Mm-hmm. It ends up being amazing and beautiful and not scary anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and I think it's important because exploration keeps us in that place of wonder, and it keeps that hope of exploring God's limitless possibilities
Yes.
and not stagnating. It's easy to stagnate in a place where everything is known. You know it in and out, but there's not really growth in that place. It's a foundation, but it's not meant to be a place that you squat. You don't become a squatter there. You actually use it as a foundation to build upon, or a step up the staircase that you take to the next place in the Lord and with the Lord. And so exploration is important because it keeps us in that state of wonder and that childlike joy of discovery, and that understanding that there's a joy in the journey. There's something exciting around the corner. There's something new to recognize or uncover about God's heart, or about us, about ourselves in God, and what that looks like in that partnership with Him, and in that alignment, or through that alignment with Him. And it becomes this amazing place of discovery and growth and joy, and like you get to experience the delight of God as he shares things that He set aside for His children in that place.
Yes.
And I love that delighted chuckle, of the Father as He's like, hey, look what I have for you, look at this. Right. And whether you, like you said, you explore one little thing at a time and go deep into it, or you kind of explore the whole area, that space that God's opened up, and then come back and start looking at the things within it, the spiritual. Obviously, we're talking from a spiritual perspective, but as you do that, there's something that opens up in us about the joy of the journey with God, and knowing Him as a good Father. So Sharon, what would you say is, I guess, required maybe to be an explorer?
Oh, you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself grace. And sometimes we can give other people grace, and have compassion for them. And often it's harder for us to give ourselves grace. Mm-hmm. And that's where the passion, not perfection, comes in.
Right.
That you don't expect little children who are starting school to already know everything. Mm-hmm. They have to learn how to stand in line. They have to learn what is lunchroom. They have to learn, just how to do life in this new territory. Mm-hmm. And so, I love how little kids do give themselves grace, and God gives us permission to be His children. Mm-hmm. So we totally have permission to give ourselves grace until we get our sea legs, or we learn how to swim, whichever analogy you want to use. So pick one. So giving ourselves grace is huge, and giving other people grace as they're dealing with us in this new space is also good. Yeah. And and that grace word, it sort of gets thrown around. Yeah. And some people even like to put rules on grace.
Of course we do. We are people. We like rules.
Right. We like rules. But
it's values, it's principles, it's character,
So, but that's where relationship with God comes in. Mm-hmm. And that's where knowing that you are a much loved child makes exploration so much fun. And that's what you were talking about, Christine, why it's important. And our relationship with God expands so much as we learn His definition of grace for us, instead of what we've heard the world say, or some preacher teach, or read in a book. Yeah. It's in that intimate relationship with God that exploration makes so much better.
Yes.
Absolutely. So it's so worth the effort to step into it, because of what God does with the grace, and then with the freedom.
Yes. Yes.
So Christine, why don't you share a little bit about the freedom in exploration?
Well, that's good, because because as you were talking, God was bringing a story to mind about experience I had. I was stepping into a new role, and I was talking to the leader that had been in that role and was moving to a different role, and so my experience had been, and stepping into new roles, that there were always these really tight boundaries around, this role is this, and you need to do only this. And that's been a challenge for me because I tend to be an outside the box thinker. So over time, those boundaries, I'm able to push back those boundaries. But what I've found is I kind of had to know what the boundaries were so that I could operate within those boundaries for a season and make sure I'm proficient in that before, those things started happening. And there was trust built, for me to be able to do that. But when I was talking to this leader, she said, I said, so what are my boundaries? What are my parameters? What are my rules is kind of what I was asking. And she said, you know what? She said, I don't want to do that with you. She said, I just want you to step into this, and I just want you to see what God is doing. And she said, I tell you what, if you step over a boundary, we'll let you know. And it was kind of one of those things that I knew, even as she said it, that they were never going to come back and say you stepped over a boundary. Because there was so much, there was confidence in her leadership, in herself, in who she was as a leader, not to feel threatened by me being a leader. And she gave me the freedom to be the kind of leader God actually created me to be, which was huge. But I had to overcome the perfection mentality that had been developed over time of making sure I didn't step over those boundaries, and really, my space would always be so small. And so it was this really amazing freedom and joy to be able to be an explorer, to be given permission to explore, and to not have to be so concerned about, am I stepping on someone's toes, or am I doing something wrong, or am I doing something right? And because in my spirit, I believed what she said, I was able to become an explorer, and the delight and wonder of what it was to step into that new space. Yes, there were things I had to overcome, insecurities, things like that. But the delight and wonder of stepping into that freedom was a huge area of growth and upgrade in my thinking and in my life with God, and really even in my trust of other leaders, to actually learn what it is to lead in a way that gives others space to rise. And that was a huge blessing for my life, to be able to experience that and see that. And so I think when I think about exploration, and I think about the passion versus the perfection, I think internally we have an expectation that this is going to be what the perfection is in this role. I am going to be the perfect leader. I am going to, do this and this and this. And we don't give ourselves really permission to have the freedom to explore God's joy and the wonder of what that space is that we're stepping into, whether it's a leadership role or just something new that God's taking us into.
Right. And I'm so glad you had that experience, because that's foundational to everything we do in the Warrior Commission.
It is, absolutely. It's amazing.
And in the partnership with God, we do learn to trust one another and trust God in them. And it's so fun to see what God brings into the light. Mm-hmm. And there is not failure. And we all have things we can learn. We all have things we haven't done before. And so there are possibilities for things to become smoother or easier or whatever. But there's not failure, because every time something doesn't look like we want it to, God's there showing us what he has for us to learn in that place. Exactly. God's there showing us his treasure in it, to take us to deeper into his heart, show us ways to love others from that heart. And again, so worth the risk. Yeah. So worth the risk.
Absolutely.
So I think another piece that makes exploration doable is having other people to explore with.
Oh yeah. Hey, exploring partner, how are you?
Yes. Whoops. Hold on. I have an Amber Alert on my phone. Okay, sorry. um, and I think whether that person is actually exploring with you, or they're simply someone to connect with in your exploration, it just makes it more powerful,
It does.
more impactful. Absolutely. In your life and what's next. And in our community, we love to help people connect with others, whether they're exploring a training together, whether they're just bouncing things off one another. We have Connexus hubs where people can get together and discuss topics, to say things out loud to one another. So much of exploration is being able to process, and having other people oftentimes helps in the process.
It does.
Some of us introverted people can process really good on our own with Holy Spirit, but even introverted people get blessed by having other people in the exploration. It makes just a world of difference.
It does. That's so true. It's so fun. I mean, I love the exploration of something new, and I love what that brings to the table. And I love the journey where we can connect to others, and we can see what that looks like together.
Yes.
Because your exploration prompts my own,
Yes. So thank you guys for joining us today. We just bless you with your explorations.
Yes.
And go out there and see what God might have for you, and enjoy being a child. And we hope to see you again.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Bye.